the FNL Network talk show.
Welcome to another episode of the FNL Network talk show. I am your host, Gebbia. We've got like a girls club going on today. I'm with Linni, Bettina, and Eugenia. Oh my God, that all rhymes. How are you girls doing?
Doing well. How about you?
Not too bad. I can't believe it's Sunday already. And I had Friday off. So like normally a 2-day weekend flies by, but this 3-day weekend, it was like a blink of an eye. And we got Thanksgiving coming up. Like, oh my God, it's just, we're rolling right into the holiday season.
It's true.
Time is just flying by. Well, we have a very special episode for you guys today. It's one of those where we each bring our own topics. And I like that because, you know, we kind of get a hint of what's important in each of our lives, what we want to talk about. So I'm going to kick it off. Linni, since this is my first show with you, I'm going to kick it right over to you. What do you got for us?
Well, I like to keep it lighthearted, I guess. So
Love that.
Knowing that this Thursday is Thanksgiving, every year my husband and I we've been together for like 22 years at this point. We talk about like all the different Thanksgivings that we've been a part of because none of them have been with family. They've always been with somebody else somewhere in Los Angeles. And so we always talk about like what's like the most memorable Thanksgiving we've had. And there's this one that keeps coming up. So my question to all of you guys is, what is your most memorable Thanksgiving mishap?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I have a mishap. Like I'm trying to think because I've never hosted. Thank God. I've made that responsibility because I'm still young. But I mean, last year was my first Thanksgiving away from my family, and I went to my my family out here, as I call them, their home, and we kind of ended up playing this one game. They're called Jackbox games, and you plug it into your whatever gaming console you have, and everyone can play on their phone. And the game we decided on was T-shirt designs, and I'll just say things got pretty inappropriate. So that was fun.
Nice. Bettina, Eugenia?
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay, well, Thanksgiving is a weird time for me because I feel like in American culture, everybody's like all about eating and it's so much food. And being a model, I'm just terrified of the amount of food that comes to the household. It's crazy. And also, you guys, I usually adopt turkeys on Thanksgiving. So there's this amazing organization. This is not a mishap, but I guess it's like really weird, right? So it's like there's this organization called Farm Sanctuary, and they usually propose to adopt the turkey. So every time I get my kids like a turkey for Thanksgiving adopting, and they were really confused. They're like, "Where's the turkey? Like, why isn't the turkey coming out?" But yeah, I don't think I had a lot of mishaps except for like not eating all that food. That's it. Like, it's too much. I don't know. I grew up in Food Line, so for me, I'm just grateful. So a lot of times we give it to the homeless or people like who need it, and I think it's really great, especially in LA. Like I was passing Laugh Factory, and they do this like free meals, and it's great to volunteer, and I think it's super fun. But yeah, I adopted a chicken once. That doesn't have to do nothing with Thanksgiving or turkeys, but I did that as well. So.
Wait, can you tell me more about this like adoption process? Do you get to name the turkey?
Yes, you get to name the turkey. You can visit anytime. It's only like an hour away from Los Angeles. It's a heaven for them. You can like hang out with them. You can bring some vegetables to have a turkey Thanksgiving with them. So I think lots of options, and I feel, you know, these days with everything that's happening, I feel like which leads to my question in a way, but I feel like it's such a great way to remind us like about nature and, you know, that we're not the only ones on this planet.
That's so sweet. Yeah, we spoke about this last show, but I know Bettina is vegan. I'm vegetarian. So I really appreciate that you're saving the turkeys.
Yeah. I'm an Aryan. I eat air, you know. And eat this thing.
You practice photosynthesis. You sit in the sunlight. I love that.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, as Diana was saying, I am vegan, so I always find it a bit disturbing this holiday. People eating animals just makes me kind of upset. So I never, I don't really like that whole idea. And so for me, it's one of the holidays we often host because my family is pretty religious. Like my sister and nieces and everything, they're very religious. So we have to go to all the holidays like at their house during the year, and that's what we figured Thanksgiving is a good one for us to have at our house. And we were going to do a vegan Thanksgiving this year. We ended up not doing that, but we were going to. We did it last year. We had a vegan Thanksgiving, although there were a couple of family members that were upset about that, and they ended up bringing some turkey anyways to the thing, and which was okay. As long as we're not eating it. And the other thing is, we had my very elderly parents over, and for some reason we didn't have their aides come and help them because they need a lot of help. So me and my sister thought that we'd be able to handle that, but my dad went into the bathroom, and when he came out, there was why am I telling this disgusting story? There was excrement all over the bathroom, like on the walls, all over there. And so most of the Thanksgiving, my husband and my brother-in-law had to clean up the whole bathroom. And I think that my brother-in-law kind of decided he never wants to come here for Thanksgiving, even though it had nothing to do with us. It was inviting my dad over. Hopefully he's not listening to this. Hi, Dad. Because he was very embarrassed, but it was kind of horrifying. I'd say that was a big mishap, a big Thanksgiving mishap.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness.
And now look, this year we don't have nothing.
Like we're moving on. We're not looking back.
It sounds like you take the cake for that one. Although, Linni, did you tell us what yours was?
No, I haven't. So I think for us, because we tend to go to somebody's house for probably now almost the last 20 years, it's like we have a story from each Thanksgiving. So, but our very first Thanksgiving ever in LA was the first time we were away from our own family. And we're both Midwest kids. So we grew up with like, you don't eat breakfast. So that way you have room for the Thanksgiving meal that would be around lunchtime, right? So our first year in California did not know that there was a cultural difference in how you do Thanksgiving in California. And so we were told that we're going to eat around with like 1:30. So we're like, perfect. So we're not going to eat it all. So we didn't eat it all for breakfast. We get to this house, and this house, we did not know who was hosting. So it was friends of ours that invited us to go to their friend's house. So we didn't know who they were. Turns out they had 4 friends, and each of the 4 friends invited another group of people. So there's a whole room of people, no one knew each other, which is great. That's fine as an extrovert, very cool. But that doesn't work when everyone's focused on how to thaw out a frozen turkey when you arrive. So you may know this, it might take a couple days to thaw a frozen turkey. And if you think you're supposed to be eating around 1 or 1:30 and you show up at noon, there is no way you're eating a frozen turkey in an hour. So we did not end up eating till 9 o'clock that night. We were so new to LA, and hilarious enough, this is before smartphones. So we had no idea really even where we were. So we had like written down directions, like how to get there. And we figured we have to like write down directions how to get home. But there wasn't like, oh, let's just like DoorDash or Uber. There was none of those options at all. At one point, my husband disappears. I have no idea where he is. And I knew he really wanted to watch the football game, right? Very, very much American. Wanted to watch the football game. They promised that somebody was bringing antennas so that we could watch the football game. Well, the person who came to watch the football game did not bring the antenna. So then my husband is really upset. And for us, they're new friends. So we don't really, it's not one of those where you're like, peace out, we'll see you later. This is like, oh my gosh, it feels like a first date where you're like, I don't really know anybody very well, especially the people who just invited us. So my husband leaves. I have no idea where he is. He doesn't come back to a couple hours, and it turns out he went outside to say happy Thanksgiving to his mom and dad on the phone, tried to get back in, and he got locked out. So he was MIA for a very long time. I think nowadays it'd be like your phone's right next to you and he would have texted and would have been like, no story, right? Well, he comes back in, and now there is a toilet plunger in the sink, and the disposal's not working. And so now there's all these women in the kitchen trying to get whatever food is in the sink out of the sink. It just went from like bad to worse, but it was the best Thanksgiving tablescape I have ever seen. There's china everywhere. It was so beautiful. So we finally ate 9 o'clock at night, and by then I'm grumpy, like I'm ready to go home. It has been a very long day, right? Oh, and on top of that, they didn't like the fact that I brought our food, like that we were sharing with everyone, in a blue glass container. They wanted it all to match. So they took it out of my bowl into one of their bowls to put it on the table. No big deal, except the fact that now I could not find my blue bowls, and turns out they were in the sink with the toilet plunger. Very, very end, we're ready to leave, and it's just kind of been a day of all these long, long, long mishaps. And then they decide that we all need to pay for the china. Not pay for the food, but pay for the china that they got. And they wanted everyone to pitch in to pay for all of the wine glasses and the plates and so on and so forth. So after that, they invited us to come back for Easter, and we turned it down.
I don't blame you. Like that China, that's a them problem. Like this isn't a wedding registry.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was our very first Thanksgiving. Welcome to California.
Oh my God, like the Thanksgiving gods went, nope, for you. Oh, yep. I'm so sorry that happened. Yeah, maybe you take the cake on the mishaps for that one. I don't really know. Oh my goodness. I'm having a Friendsgiving. My friend and I are going out to eat on Thursday, and then my friends whose house I went to last year, they have a bunch of kids. They're flying to see their relatives, but we're doing like a Friendsgiving on Sunday. So I'm making my mom's stuffing, which like I always get criticized for, or like whenever I bring it up to people, because it's Italian stuffing and it's not bread stuffing, it's rice. It's literally like rice, mozzarella, grated cheese, and eggs. And like if you ate meat, you would put sausage in it, but I don't. And everyone's like, what's that? But like it's the most delicious thing ever. So I'm making that for Sunday. And I hope I don't have a mishap, because, you know, first time trying your mother's recipe and she's the best cook in the world, like no pressure on me.
That's a lot to live up to.
Sure is. Aren't I lucky? Oh my God, that was a fun one. Eugenia, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, it's more like of a serious type of thing, but, you know, kind of a profound thing on a switch note. But I thought about it, you know, with everything that's happening, and actually talking about Thanksgiving, we had a amazing Thanksgiving lunch at my daughter's school. She's leaving the school, and you know how parents can be like really, at the private school can be really cold, and it's like, oh my God, it's like this mom club and that mom club. But then everybody made everyone else say what they're grateful for. I swear to God, like I just never saw such a beautiful connection, because no matter where you are, where you're from, where you know, whatever you think about other people, or it's like high school, still when people say they're grateful for something, you can see them crying and laughing and connecting. And it was just so beautiful. And it brought me to a thought, you know, like recently I was looking for a new therapist, and all the therapists are taken now these days, at least in Los Angeles. And I was like, wow, I've never had that problem before. And, you know, I just hear people keep saying like, oh, in this hard time that we're going through collectively, no matter how much you can deny or something, like, I wonder, what are your guys' tools for, you know, staying in peace and dealing with anxiety? And I think it's important. I feel like we're still on Zooms and things like that. So personally for me, it's like connecting to nature and just prioritizing my time, maybe offline, is really important. I was curious what it is for you, and how do you kind of like, do you shut off the world outside, or do you have any kind of things that you do specifically for your mental health?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that therapists are hard to come by, and that's the problem I had when I moved out here. Like, I have a fabulous therapist in Jersey. She gets me. We're both Italian, like, love her so much. But the issue is, she can't practice across state lines. So when I came out here, that was something I really struggled with. And I went through a few, and finally I started working with a life coach instead. And I know it can be controversial because some of them aren't like ethical. Some of them just want to make a buck. But the one I found is fabulous. And you could tell she's really gone through her coaching programs, and she's very personal with you and makes sure that you get the attention you need when you need it. I'm in a group program, so it's also helpful to hear what everyone else is going through, because you don't know what you might need that someone else also needs and what you could take away from them. And you just have that bond with them too. So that's been really helpful. She teaches a lot about thought work, which is similar to what I've learned in therapy, but it's different. It's kind of getting to the root of why you're thinking something, whereas therapy is kind of like, let's unpack your childhood. And I mean, that's great. There's a time and place for all that. I don't discount that, and I do that as well. But what I like about life coaching too, it's just taught me how to examine my thoughts and really think about them and observe them. So using that in conjunction with what I've learned from therapy has just been really helpful with my anxiety. I try to meditate, emphasis on try. Some days I just don't have the patience to sit there and be quiet, which that's not a great thing, but it's the truth. I'm like you, I do love getting out in nature. It's one of the things I love about living out here in LA, because 9 out of 10 times the weather's great. So like today I just took an hour walk and put on a podcast, and it's great to just keep active and moving. Or like when you go out to a restaurant, you could eat outside even if you're alone. Eat outside, enjoy nature, enjoy people walking by, go for a hike. So I think what you said about being in nature too, that's also a really great thing.
Cool. How about you guys?
Okay, I'll go. It's like one of my favorite topics. I work as an energy healer, so I have like lots of clients I do different types of energy healing for, and I do some on Zoom, some over the phone, and some like long distance. And me, myself, I have someone I work with once a week on the phone. And I'm also involved in several groups that help me with certain things. I'm in one group that's for vegans and how to stay fit and eat healthy for vegans. I have another thing called the Healy device, which helps remove subconscious blocks in your system. So I use that. All these things I use on myself to help relax me. So I channel energy to others, helps me relax too, and channeling on myself. And then just other regular things like just sitting and reading is very, very relaxing for me. I've kind of a busy life. I run also an entertainment company for like corporate events. So on the weekend, I'm busy with that too. And all these self-tapes. I work as an actress. The self-tapes are, there are just so many of them. And now that the strike is over, I think it's about to get crazier. So yeah, I have to have like a big, like other thing that I'm doing with all these healing energies in order to calm it down, because I have so much going on all the time,
Bettina's awesome, by the way. I had a session with her once, like last year, I think it was, and she was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
I love feelings on people. It's really great. Yeah.
I absolutely love this topic as well. And I just find it so fascinating that like, this is something we are able to talk about. 30 years ago, this would have been taboo. And, all of our mothers would be drinking quietly behind closed doors, and we wouldn't know anything about what was going on until like the skeletons come out later. Right. So in this era, we're in what can be viewed as airing dirty laundry instead as a place of like embracing imperfections and embracing who we are and where we are in a process. And I absolutely love that. I love being able to even do that with my kids when I'm seeing my kids I have a 10-year-old who's exactly like me, and you can read her like a book. Like, when she's anxious, you just know she's anxious. And my 15-year-old is just, when she gets anxious, she just shuts down. So one starts talking more, one starts talking less. And it's just fun working with both of them of like just naming emotions. Like, what are you feeling right now? Why are you feeling that? And just sitting with them. And I feel like if this whole, like the idea of like healing your inner child is the same thing of like, we just have someone who can listen to us of like, why do you feel that way? I don't know why I feel that way. I feel like that's just so empowering to be able to name emotions. So, but I've had 3 therapists that were like, we had this huge lawsuit that happened and it was absolutely insane. Our best friend sued us for $1 gajillion, claiming that they owned property that we owned. And it was just nuts in that season. And so I went and found a therapist who just said, you don't need therapy, you just need a good friend. And she said, I'm not charging you, just call me. When you need someone to listen to you, just call me. So I was like, okay, well, I'll take advantage of that. But I would call her like once a month. And then she'd be like, Linni, you really don't need me. You just need someone else. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to go see a nutritionist. And so I went and saw a nutritionist and she got me on track. Then it was like learning how to manage emotions through this massive lawsuit just with nutrition. And then she's like, okay, Linni, you're good. See you later. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got fired from the first therapy. The first therapist, the second one fired me. Now I'm going to, okay. And then I went on to Better Health and got a therapist on Better Health, went through a couple of them. Finally, I found one I really liked. And after 8 sessions, she was like, Linni, I can't take you any further than what you've already gone. I'm like, you fired me? And she's like, yeah, I can't take you further than forgiveness. You're already at the forgiveness level. And I'm like, no. Forgiveness is at the bare minimum. What's beyond forgiveness? And she's like, no, that's the pinnacle. And so here I'm thinking like I'm broken and I need all of this help and I'm just introspection of like what's wrong with me. And she's like, no, just sometimes there's just evil people in the world and just happen to be that you just believed the best in them and you didn't see the red flags, but there's nothing to fix in you. And that was so eye-opening that in a world where we can always be so focused on ourselves to think that we're broken, to think that we really need all this help. And sometimes we just need to sit and be grateful for who we are and how we're processing, recognizing that we're badasses and that we've come a long way in a lot of areas. And so for me, part of it is just learning that like I can be really high and be really full of anxiety and just know that I'm going to crash and be okay. Like part of my personality is that I'm going to ride the roller coaster versus trying to control the roller coaster.
That's great. I love that.
Oh, I'm gonna say, damn, girl. Like, I don't think I've ever had a therapist be like, "Oh no, you're good."
I was jealous. I met someone who's had the same
my whole life.
Well, that was like I met someone recently that's had the same therapist for 15 years, and I'm like, I'm jealous. How'd you stay with them for 15 years? That'd be amazing.
That's hilarious. No, that's good for you.
I've never heard that either. That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I will say getting sued is horrible. That happened to me about 10 years ago. Someone who's rich and powerful sued me and a few other people together. And that was it's horrible.
Yeah.
I had one of those I don't know what there's a name for them when like you get into a car accident and they're fine and they're like, oh no, I'm hurt. I had one of those. So
wow.
I totally get it. It's brutal, and I can't imagine it being someone you thought was your best friend. Like, that's brutal. But not only did you come out of it, apparently you aced it with flying colors.
There you go, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, today I want to talk about something that's been making the rounds in the media this weekend. P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever the hell you call him. He is in the news for allegedly some brutal abuse against his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. I don't want to get into details because they are triggering, but brutal is the only way to describe it. And there are rumors that he allegedly did it to other people. They did settle the case, but of course, when it comes to these kind of cases, victims often decide to settle because it's less traumatizing to settle than to go forward with the court process because legal questioning can just be so mentally taxing. So what I want to know is, obviously, this isn't the first celebrity to be accused of some horrible, horrible things. You know, it's the Me Too movement, Hollywood, like it's just out there. Like, our celebrities, what do you think makes people in power, whether it's a celebrity, a politician, etc., think that they can get away with this kind of stuff? And do you think there's any hope for anyone who's in this position? Eugenia, I know I always start with you when it comes to these entertainment questions, but you know what? I'm going to start with you as always, just because this is so close to home for you, and I know your insight's going to be good. On
the spot. Well, I did meet P. Diddy a couple times, and you know, it's very complicated when you're on the outside of any kind of relationship, and especially if you're in the spotlight, it's even worse. But like domestic abuse is through the roof. It's the hardest relationship to leave. as I hear, because it takes two to tango in a way. And I think it takes a lot to come out on the other side of like abuse, because your brain changes by that and you think that's okay in a way. And I did have very, very abusive relationships in entertainment business. So, still kind of processing on that, just coming out. It's really gray area. You really never know, because I did know women who blackmail men for money as well. So I've seen that side of that, somebody just maliciously like tracking the celebrity and then trying to extort money. I've seen that really close to my case. So that's really, frustrating. And I think it's definitely, I don't know if you guys seen like Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, and it's still really confusing. It's not the full scale, and I kind of know people through people, but it's still hard to say. Like, it's so easy to call somebody a narcissist these days. I feel like it's a word that's flying in LA all the time, but I'm glad that it's coming up as well. And I think a lot of times narcissism is really attracted by the, entertainment media and celebrity world. So there's a lot of that personality disorder. I just feel really sad. I think it takes a village. I think the most important thing is it's like cancer. For me, it's like when things started coming up in Hollywood, and like Me Too, for ages I thought that I was like, something was wrong, because I've seen it all around all the time since I was a child, and I thought, oh my God, I'm crazy. Maybe that's just normal and that's how it works, but I can't commit to that. Like, I can never get a job that way, or like, do anything. Like, I just didn't have the ethic to do that. But I thought maybe something's wrong with me. But then things started coming out, and I'm like, I'm not crazy. You watch all these like Jeffrey Epstein documentaries, and somebody proposed for me to stay at his house, and I was like, oh, I'm not crazy, and then like Russell Simmons, who like did something as well, and I thought, oh my God, this powerful producer. And then you watch things that the same person does to another person in the same way, and you're like, oh my God, but it takes a lot of time to heal your brain, to really change the pathway of not being a victim. Not only that, but also standing up. And unfortunately, in this age and time, because we're all on social media, once you speak out, there will be always trolls and polarizing ideas about no matter which side you're on. So, going in a public eye through that, I feel it's terrifying.
Yeah. And to your point earlier, like, it doesn't even matter what gender you are. A horrible person is a horrible person. Like, I know last year we spoke about Jen Shah from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's in jail for scamming the elderly, she pled guilty. And it's just like, these people in power, they think they can get away with everything. And, even though she wasn't in a power like a politician or a famous director, but she was a Real Housewife on Bravo, you come into contact with a little bit of money and all of a sudden you think you're God, Linni, what about you?
I don't know if I have an opinion on this. I think the way in which you pose the question, I find really fascinating. This idea of like, is it a blanket statement? Is it one by one? And what Eugenia said about just knowing that there's people out there that lie just to see if they can, false allegations just to see where that will go. I mean, I would hope that in a settlement, it's actually being settled in the favor of a true victim and not just someone who's creating a story. Not saying that in this story that is the case, but yeah, it is fascinating to think there's people out there that have ulterior motives other than wanting to actually build connections with people. Like in order to get a connection, it's to create a career for themselves. So they're willing to do whatever they can to get that to happen. And so for P. Diddy, I don't know, it's an interesting power dynamic at play that I'm curious what this will look like. And obviously we've seen stories like this again and again and again. And I think it's hard to not get jaded from it. So
sure. No, it truly is. I know I'm not going to say who it is, but there is a celebrity who I admire too, who's just recently come into some allegations and he's denying it. And, I'm always in favor, or not in favor. I always want to believe the victim until something else comes otherwise. But it is hard when it's like someone you really admire and have seen so many times are on the other side of the allegation. You're right. It's just like, holy crap, it's you do get jaded, but I always am in the favor of justice, like you said. You always you want the person who is truly the victim and everything to come out on top. So I appreciate that take and, just a look on the other side of things. I think that's really valuable. What about you, Bettina?
I mean, I like to think that we're going towards a better world, which, harder and harder to think that way. And that's the reason that things are coming out into the light right now, because, we want to move into a place where there's not a thing of power and control and money, that it's more relationships based on not conditional relationships. So, that we're basing relationships on just being with each other and enjoying each other and maybe having good luck in terms of helping each other out, but not this power and control business. It just feels very old schoolish, old way of doing things, and maybe that's the reason it's coming out so much now. That's kind of how I like to think of it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because there's so much nastiness and violence these days, so it's hard to see like really which way we're gonna go.
Yeah, I know. So you're obviously, as you mentioned before, into all the spiritual healing and stuff. And I know some astrologers and like spiritual healers, they are very like in tune to where the world is moving, like based on astrology and spiritual like healing and things like that. Do you have any insight on that? Like, do you have any thought? Like,
I mean, I think we're at almost like at a tipping point where it could go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like we could just end humanity at some point in the near future, or it's going to go the other way, where we're going to start taking care of each other and having a more of a love type vibe in the universe, where peace and love and light really do exist in, all over the world. So I think like this time period is kind of like where the earth is kind of deciding like which way it's going to go, and the more beauty and love and self-care we can like put into the vibe of what's going on, the better for everyone all around.
Yeah.
Like, get those vibes out as much as you can.
Oh my God, please. Yeah, I don't need no humanity ending. I don't think anyone wants that on this call, at least.
I don't, I hope not.
I can't speak for everyone on earth, but I know all of us on this call don't want humanity ending.
We don't want it to end. No, we want to see it go into a peaceful, loving place.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess we'll bring it home with you, Bettina, actually, because we have your topic. So what is it? Play it on us.
Mine's like so completely different than any of this, I think.
I love it.
I live in a small town, and I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be great if there were more grants given to artists in a small town, so that the artists of the world would have more opportunity to work on a creative project. It's very hard with our lifestyle, that we have to work so much that it's hard to really just do a creative project. So my question was related to like, should small communities be, would it be easier to find an easier way to give grants to artists? I mean, my husband, he produces the Hudson Valley Jazz Festival, which is in his 14th year. It's like a 20 jazz shows in 5 days with jazz artists all over the Hudson Valley once a year. And it'd be really nice to get some sort of grant for something like that. And he gets some grants. He gets some small grants, but it would be nice to see like the community kind of really chipping in, or grants from the government to really make it into a bigger thing. That's all. So that's kind of where I came with that question.
I think that's a great idea. And when you posed this question, I thought of the show Gilmore Girls, because Stars Hollow, they always had something going on. Like there was the Festival of the Living Art, where they were just like moving paintings, or like fall pageants and stuff like that. And like Miss Patty had her dance studio, and they would put on shows. And I'm like, that's so cute. I mean, I don't think LA would ever be able to do something like that. But like a small town, like we need more Stars Hollows in the world.
I love that show. I'm a big fan of that show. But yeah, because my little town has that feel to it, but just not enough of the creative feel to it. So, that's what I'd like to see more of.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing because I feel the picture gives 1,000 words. And like, it would be amazing to see a documentary about that, about and the artists. My friend did an amazing documentary about wild horses, and they're like nominated for Oscar. It's like the way wild horses are treated in America. And it's just such a touching thing. And she just showed up with a camera. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be big budget, but I think if it has a heart in it and it has like a change and a passion, and I think we all need artists these days. Like they say, they don't need more politicians and celebrities. We need more healers and artists. And I feel like underneath, even coming from like that Thanksgiving dinner with the parents and just being in different demographics from Hollywood to everywhere else, people are craving that authenticity. And there's definitely like there's like all these huge Marvel movies where it's all the same thing and like boom, 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 into your head. But also I feel those documentaries are like really authentic things about real people and real causes. That's something that like we're all craving to watch because there's such a lack of it. I feel there's not enough independent films. And I think if I were you, I would be like filming all the artists around and like, how do you struggle? Because I feel we all connect through struggle. There is not one person on earth who's not struggling, but struggling for a great cause. I feel, that like, even if you shoot a little trailer or something, I feel just, coming from modeling and the visual world, right? It's always, I feel you can persuade people by visual or emotion much faster than just trying to explain through like cerebral way.
Oh, what a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Isn't there like, I'm sure there is, but there's a study about like how the arts, just help everyone in general.
Yes.
And I also think of how they cut art in school. Like I feel like with these grants and these programs, if there was enough positive movement, they wouldn't cut this art, the funding to art in school.
Yeah.
It could make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the reason kids go to school. They don't go to school in California, we call it the A through G requirements, right? It's the math, the science, the English. They don't go to school for that. They go to school because they want to eat lunch, and they go to school because they want to make art, and they have connections in the theater department, and they're learning how to play flute, right? Like there's elements to that art base that is life changing. And when those start to not even just be cut, but to be decreased. So like even my 9 to 5 job is working at a high school, and I'm in the art department, and all the art teachers buy their own rulers for the kids, and they buy their own paint. And it's just ridiculous that even that is something that for art lovers, they're asking their friends for donations for the classroom, and friends are willing to do it. But it's wild, but you're like, don't break my ruler because it's my ruler. It's not the school's ruler, right? So even having like teaching these students to really not just appreciate the end product of art, but the process of it, like learning how to make mistakes and enjoying the process of making mistakes is really powerful. You don't learn that in a math class or an English class, but you learn that in an art class.
True.
That's a really good point. What kind of art do you do?
So I'm a sign language interpreter. And so I am in a bunch of different elements throughout my career. But right now it's this level 1 art class, and it's absolutely hilarious to see how, the teacher is just scrounging around to make sure that, okay, you get a dime size ounce of paint, you get a little thing of paint, and I've been in other classrooms where teachers have the resources, not from the school, just because of the people they know, where you can take as much paint as you want and it's no big deal. So it's fascinating to see how art is created with limited resources. And yet that's the reason the kids are coming to school.
Yeah.
I totally took your topic way off.
That's great. Very interesting.
Creative way to take a topic out.
Well, let me put it back, because we live in a little tiny town just north of LA, and it's a very artistic town, and a lot of people are transplants from LA where we live up here. The theater is run by the city, so the theater company is fully funded by the city here, and anyone that's a part of the theater company, nothing's coming out of their pocket, which we've done a lot of theater where everything's coming out of our own pocket as actors. So it's really fascinating to see a town that will support they'll do 8 to 10 shows and they're sold out. The city absolutely loves it. They do sidewalk chalk art weekends where, if you've been to Pasadena, you'll see it in Pasadena as well, but where you can rent a sidewalk square and you can do whatever you want on that sidewalk square. And so, I've had, we've all done different things that the city really promotes and has a platform for loving the arts. I call it the little hallmark town because in this city, every little store has something that it has a local artist in it. And so there, even if it's not necessarily like a grant from the government, there is a way in which local artists are supported by the local community. And I love that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's nice.
Have you been in any of the shows recently?
Oh, I put my hat up a long time ago. That has been retired. No, thank you. No, thank you. But my husband and my kids are in the Christmas play that we'll be sharing next week or 2 weeks. And yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, I did community theater back when I was in high school, and it was not funded by the state. My close family friends now who I actually met from doing the shows, like they funded it all with the church that it was a part of. And you're right, like it's no easy feat. And Bettina, to your point, like stuff like that, I'm sure we would have benefited from a grant from New York City. Like that would have been amazing. And just seeing, things sell out and the community coming and supporting, and it really does make a difference. So yeah. I think Eugenia had a great idea before. Get that camera out, go film, and we can make a difference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's so easy these days. Like even iPhones. I think, Miramax did a film with an iPhone. Like literally you can do that,
Yeah.
Do you have enough passion? I really feel it. And it's a great topic.
It is.
And then you raise the money through the documentary,
Yeah. Yeah, no, and then we have like resources like GoFundMe where you literally can just start a website and get funding that way, or get attention change.org, where you can make petitions, and real change has come through this. And it's amazing how it's all at our fingertips when even 15, 20 years ago it wasn't that easy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe we're pretty much done with this episode. That went by super quickly. I feel like we covered so many incredible topics. You all have so many great ideas. I just love chatting with you guys. And it was amazing chatting with you for the first time, Linni. I'm so happy we finally got to meet
you guys. Yeah.
Well, you at home, thank you so much for tuning in. I think Thanksgiving's going to hit before we have another episode. So I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving at home. I hope you guys have a mishap-free Thanksgiving. Oh my God, especially you, Linni. Don't go to that person's house ever again. I'm sure you have not. And we will talk to you guys again next week. Thank you, Bettina. Thank you, Eugenia. Thank you, Linni. This was the FNL Network Talk Show. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.